This video tutorial is about putting numbers in scientific notation. So what is scientific notation? It's a way that we can take really long numbers and write them in a much shorter space. So how does it make the numbers shorter? You look at the whole long number, you take the significant figures out of that number, and you turn it into some kind of a number between 1 and 10. That means a lot of times it's going to have a number like 4.2 or 3.4 so that it can be in between 1 and 10. Then you're going to multiply that number that some people call a coefficient. You're either going to multiply it by 10 or else you're going to divide that number by 10 until you get back to that original form of that number. I'm going to do a couple of examples with you. For example, if we have the number 400,000, that's really long. That's got a lot of zeros, and the longer the numbers are, the harder it is to keep track that you're writing the right number of zeros. So we would take the significant figure out of that number, which is this 4 right here, and we're going to put it between 1 and 10, which means I have to put it in this ones place right here. So I'm going to take just the 4. And then I have to figure out how many times do I need to multiply this 4 times 10 in order to get it all the way back out to 400,000. If I multiply it times 10 one time, then the 4 moves over to the tens place, and now I have 40. If I multiply it times 10 again, I'm going to move it over one more time, put another 0 in there. Now the 4 is all the way out to the hundreds place. My goal is to get it out here to the hundred thousands place. So I got to multiply it times 10 again. It's going to come out one more place, times 10 again, over, put a 0, times 10 one more time, and that brings it out to the correct location. I ended up having to multiply this 4 times 10 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. To put that number, this number here, into scientific notation, it's 4 times 10 5 times. 4 times 10 to the 5th. Now we can do the same thing with very small numbers. We just make the exponents on that 10 negative, because negative exponents mean that you are dividing by 10. If that sounds confusing, let me bring you back to algebra for a second. If you had x to the negative 1, that's the same thing as saying 1 over x. If you do that with a number, if you have 2 to the negative 1, that's the same thing as saying 1 over 2. Therefore, if we have 10 to the negative 1, it's like saying 1 over 10. If I take a 4 and I multiply it times 10 to the negative 1, that's the same thing as saying 4 divided by 10. Therefore, when the exponents are negative, you are dividing by 10. If we look at this number, which is 0.00004, that's a lot of zeros. It's going to be hard to keep track of that. If I take out just the significant figure, because this one only has one sig fig, and I take that 4, I'm going to put the 4 right here. And I'm going to put that 4 in the ones place, because again, I'm trying to make it be between 1 and 10. I can't say 0.4 because that would be less than 1. If I take 4, I would need to divide this by 10 one time to get it to move over here to the tenths place. Okay, that's one time. If I need to move it to the hundredths place, I would divide it by 10 a second time. If I need to get it to the thousandths place, I divide it by 10 a third time, then a fourth time, and then a fifth time. And that finally gets that 4 all the way out to the hundred thousandths place where it was in the original number. So I needed 4 times 10 to the negative 5th time, because I wanted to divide 4 by 10 5 times. Numbers that are very long decimal numbers are going to have negative exponents. Numbers that are very long but not decimal numbers are going to have positive exponents.